Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. We're coming to you from the NJTV Agnes Vera Studios. It is our honor to introduce, this isn't one-on-one, this is one-on-two, two very special guests. Matt Zoller Seitz is, and also Alan Sepinwall. They are the TV critics and co-authors connected to the 20th anniversary of The Sopranos. This book is called The Sopranos Sessions. These guys have been writing about The Sopranos from day one, 1999, when the series broke on HBO. They've been with us many times in the past. They're the best at what they do, and you honor us. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure, Steve.
Matt, Sopranos happens in 1999.
Yeah.
Who, other than David Chase, thought it was going to be something really special?
Not even David Chase thought it was going to be something
Not
really
even
special.
David Chase.
Well, he originally wanted to do it as a movie, and he did it somewhat reluctantly as a TV series, and he never thought it would last beyond season one. And in fact, it was going to end with Tony actually strangling his mother. And it was only when Nancy Marchand asked, "Can you please keep me around on the show? I need the money," that Livia lived.
And Nancy was sick. Nancy
She
Marchand
had
was pretty
cancer,
sick.
and he knew that she had cancer when he cast her.
So another ending. Geez, I don't remember the ending. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Your healthy obsession with The Sopranos started
Yes.
when?
Basically when the show started and when Matt was covering it for the Star-Ledger for the first couple of years. That was the most envious time, the most fraught time in our partnership together, because he had staked a claim and he realized immediately, like, this was the show that was going to change television.
And you said, hey,
Yeah.
let me in on this.
And after season 3, he did, and I got to cover it all the way through the end, through that finale that people are still arguing about.
By the way, I want to make it clear that not a lot of people in our business are that generous and open
Yes.
to. And we're not turf focused.
Yeah, you would have pried that show from my cold, dead hands, Steve.
It was lucky that it was you and not him.
Yeah.
Here's what I want to do. But by the way, the 20th anniversary is significant. Why?
Well, for one thing, the show is a period piece now. And it plays very differently when you go back and watch it again. And it was a great pleasure watching.
Excuse me for interrupting. Both of you went back to watch every episode again,
We
right?
did, yeah, more than one. In most episodes, more than once, yeah.
Yeah, because the book has essays on every episode in addition to the new interview we did with David Chase. So we had to revisit all of it.
How open was David Chase? By the way, originally from New Jersey. David Chase, how open?
More open than at times than we expected, less open at other times. Chase is always a challenging interview subject. He doesn't like talking about the show. He doesn't like explaining things. But there were times when he would just get on a roll and we talked about the last scene in the ice cream parlor for like almost an hour.
Yeah, as I was reading about that part, did David Chase make a mistake? Did he say something unintentional when he called it the quote-unquote death scene?
No, because he was referring to what happened was after the 5th season, the executives at HBO started asking him, how do you want to end this? And he came up with this idea of Tony is going to a meeting with Johnny Sack, the New York mob boss. And
By the way, check out our website, the interview with Johnny Sack, whose name is Vincent Curatola with a C. Check that out, one of our favorite interviews. He talks about Gandolfini as well. We're about to show you Michael Imperioli, who played Christopher Moltisanti, in just a moment. But set that up again.
Okay, so
sorry for that.
That's okay. That's all right. So where were we? I'm sorry.
Tony's driving through.
Oh yeah. So
how are you going to end this thing?
The HBO executive asked David Chase, how are you going to end this thing? And one idea, this is an early idea that he had, was Tony was going to drive to a meeting with Johnny Sack, the New York mob boss, played by Vincent Curatola, and we would see him driving, and we would see him going through the Lincoln Tunnel, and then it would fade to white. And you could draw the conclusion that perhaps he didn't come back from that meeting. Well, that's eventually not what he did. And part of the reason why he didn't do it was he thought it was, even though it was subtle, he didn't want to give people the impression that, oh, he died and that's the end of it. He wanted something that was a little more infuriating. As we know now, he did come up with something more infuriating.
Yeah, and by the way, for those of us who live in northern New Jersey, if you've ever been to Holston's, an iconic ice cream joint in Bloomfield, New Jersey, that booth,
yes,
the booth where Tony Soprano and his family were sitting, I mean, that is a very special, there it is.
Yep.
Wait, hold on, that's you guys.
That's
yes,
you got the onion rings.
They filmed a documentary where we talked about the show and ate onion rings while doing it.
Yes. Oh. Yeah, it's an hour of us talking about The Sopranos at Holston's. It's called My Dinner with Alan.
Oh, I love it.
That's the title
By the
of
way,
it,
no, not a commercial for Holston's, but they do have the best onion rings around. Can we show some pictures of some people? Why don't we do this? Let's do the Gandolfini thing. By the way, I can tell already, we're going to go along with the guys, all right? So can we make an adjustment on the fly here? James Gandolfini, so many of the people we've had on from the cast have talked about the kind of human being, not just a great actor. Talk about being generous when you're talking about your colleague. He's a great person, great human being.
Yeah, and he was a very reluctant star. He didn't like talking about himself. The first time Matt was trying to do an interview with him in the first season, Jim called Matt's house and got on the phone with his wife, trying to ask her to get him out of having to do it. Not because he was aloof, but literally he just didn't like the attention, which is an odd way to feel if you're going to be the star of a television show that changes television, but that's how it worked out for him.
When the first season was going to premiere, he tried to attend in a yellow cab. He didn't want to take a limo because he was afraid that his friends would see him and think he'd gone Hollywood.
And by the way, it's talking about a Jersey guy. He's a Jersey guy, Rutgers guy. I remember he'd always root for Rutgers. He's a big Rutgers fan.
Yeah, one of our editors went to college with him, and he, the dent in his forehead. He gave him that.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Slammed a door in his face and had to take him to the emergency room for stitches.
Mark Diano, Pulitzer finalist for the Star-Ledger, grievously injured James Gandolfini.
By the way, we're going to have Mark back on because he has a new book coming, a new book out. But the guys from the Ledger all did really well.
Yeah, we did.
Some of them are continuing to do well. Can we do this? I'm going to show you. Can we show the clip from Michael Imperioli? I keep talking about it. This is a clip from the Tisch WNET studio. It was a one-on-one interview with Michael Imperioli, who played the nephew of Tony Soprano, Christopher. I believe he's talking about James Gandolfini and his experience with this incredibly iconic series of Sopranos 20th anniversary. Let's go to the clip.
I did not know Jim, and a lot of us didn't. But he was the central character. He worked more than any of the other actors, pretty much. And he was also like the captain of the team, He was like the Lou Gehrig or the Derek Jeter, and he looked out for everybody, both behind the camera.
And financially, I heard. Did he fight?
And financially, well, he was an extremely generous guy. He would find out about, like, some woman who's getting evicted or couldn't pay her mortgage, and he'd send someone over a check completely anonymously. And he saved a lot of people and helped a lot of people who probably to this day never know he did that.
I mean, you can talk about Gandolfini forever. Talk about Michael Imperioli. Talented, right?
Well, he's a sharp guy. I mean, he's a really, really well-read, like genuinely intellectual person, and very down to earth too. And I used to love talking to him when I would visit the set because he always, he was always reading some new book that he wanted to recommend. He'd just been to a play and he wanted to talk about it.
Pretty deep guy.
Yeah, he's very lively, like with his mind, like always looking for the next thing.
Let me ask you this: can we put a picture up of is Carmela Edie Falco? Talk about Edie.
Edie Falco is amazing because it was such a contrast between her and Jim. Jim sort of had a hard time shaking off that role. Edie Falco was like an acting machine. She would walk onto the set. It would be like flipping a light switch. Suddenly she was Carmela. She could be going through the most intense, dramatic scene you could possibly imagine, screaming her lungs out. And then the director yells, "Cut!" And she's back to being Edie Falco, and she's talking about what she's going to do that weekend.
Can we talk about Dr. Malfi, Lorraine Bracco, who we all remember from, my wife sometimes jokes, and she says, "Do you have any money on you?" You know what she does?
Yeah.
I say, how much money are we talking about? She goes, and she does the thing, Karen.
Yeah.
From the Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, right? You guys can't see my Karen, doesn't matter. It's such an inside, this is inside, but you appreciate what I'm saying.
Yeah.
She goes from that scene
to
playing a Jewish woman who lived across the street, right? And she comes into this crazy world in Goodfellas. And she's Dr. Jennifer Malfi, and she's Tony Soprano's psychologist or psychiatrist, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever expect that it would be that powerful, that part of the whole Sopranos thing?
No, and I certainly didn't expect to see her playing a part like that. And that was part of the genius of the show is that they often cast people against type. I mean, not always. There are times where, like, Frank Vincent showed up playing exactly the kind of role you would expect Frank Vincent to play. But in a lot of cases, they were casting people in ways that showed new sides of them. And I think Edie Falco is an example of that. I mean, she had been a really successful indie film actress, but she'd never played a part that had that many layers and was that sort of constricted and kind of constrained in certain ways.
By the way, check out also our website at steveadubato.org. Put it up because our interview with Frank Vincent from back in, I think, 2010, My God. He wrote a book called The Wise Guy's Guide to Being a Wise Guy.
Yeah.
Something like that. Talk about just it's so inside, but I enjoyed it.
He read for Uncle Junior and basically didn't get the part because Chase worried he was hiring too many people from Goodfellas. And
Yeah.
Frank said to David, look, I understand I'm not getting it this time, but you're going to have to hire me sooner or later because there's only so many guys like me for a show like this.
Okay, since you mentioned Dominic Chini's.
Yes. Yes.
Okay? Uncle Junior.
Yeah.
How many people know, you guys know this?
Yes.
He not only was in Goodfellas, but look at Dominic Chini's with
Jamie
Jamie
Lynn Sigler.
Jamie Lynn Sigler. How about this? In Godfather, go ahead.
Godfather Part 2, Johnny Ola.
Johnny Ola.
Yes.
Johnny Ola was. Oh, never. I'm sorry. I'm not going to go there. Did you realize right away that Uncle Junior was Johnny Ola from The Godfather back in early 1970s? Did you realize it right away?
Oh yeah, because I was a Godfather nerd. You know, I had
the famous scene in Cuba.
I had the VHS cassettes where they packaged them as 2 cassettes because the films were so long.
And
yeah.
then Fredo said, "Yeah, Johnny Ola told me about
Yeah,
this place."
exactly.
I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm sorry.
The great thing is, when we talked to Chase for the book, we asked him, like, wouldn't Tony have taken out his uncle after what happens in season
Yes.
1? He says, probably, but Uncle Junior was our favorite character to write for. We loved putting these lines in Dominic's mouth. There was no way we were ever going to kill him.
How much does Dominic Chini's love singing?
He loves to sing. He sings even if nobody asks him to sing. He'll sing. He loves to sing.
It's
He's
good
great.
stuff.
He's great. And you know, he started out. He became fascinated by show business because he went to see Sinatra play at the Paramount Theater in right after World War II, and he was
I
a
was going to say
teenager.
right early mid-40s, I imagine.
Yeah.
Wow. By the way, the name of the book is The Sopranos Sessions. Matt and Alan have put together a powerful book. In a conversation with David Chase is in here. So the whole idea is after these episodes, you provide your analysis of it.
Yeah, so you can, if you're watching the show for the first time or you're rewatching it, you can watch an episode, turn to that chapter in the book, read what we had to say about it, and keep on going, or just bounce around. If you want to read about Pine Barrens, go for it.
Jeez, I asked Christopher. I asked Michael Imperioli about that. Remember the shoe came off?
Yeah.
I lost my shoe. That
How
was
about when
great.
they're eating in the? Never mind. I'm sorry.
That also has one of my favorite Uncle Junior lines, which
Go
is
ahead.
when Gloria throws the London broil at the back of Tony's
Yes.
neck when he's leaving.
Yes.
And then a couple of scenes later, he goes to see Uncle Junior, and he's talking to him, and he pauses. He goes, "You been eating steak?"
And by the way, I'm not going to talk about the scene where they're out there golfing. I'll leave it. Can we leave it alone?
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
We'll leave it alone. By the way, the movie, 15 seconds on the movie. Really? We're doing a movie here?
Yeah, Many Saints of Newark. It
He's
was
been
called.
talking about this since
it's
the show
simply called
ended.
Newark.
Now it's just called Newark.
Now it's
yeah.
called Newark. It's a prequel set in the 60s, dealing with Uncle Junior and Johnny, and especially Dickie Moltisanti, Christopher's father.
And hold on. Gandolfini's son is in this?
Yeah, he's playing Tony. He's playing young Tony.
Yeah. Probably
Yeah.
sometime in the 70s or early 80s.
What can you tell us about it before we see it?
Well, we don't know anything about it. Like he was actually he had finished a script a long time ago, and he knew full well what it was, and he probably knew when we interviewed him that it was going to go into production, and he didn't say
Yeah, I
anything.
asked one thing, and he said, and he answered for about 2 seconds, and then said, "I've said too much. I need to stop talking."
Did not, really?
Yes.
I could ask you one more character. Do you remember we had Furio on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had Furio because we showed his artwork.
Federico
Yes.
Castelluccio.
Federico Castelluccio.
Yes.
That's a talented artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of people on that show who were not really actors. He was one, Steve Van Sant. Even Vince Curatola was a masonry contractor before he wound up on the show.
Guys, I cannot thank you enough. Not just for this book, not just for those of us who live in New Jersey and followed your work in the Ledger for all those years. You made this experience of watching this more insightful, more powerful, more interesting. And by the way, let folks know where you are today so they can check you out.
I'm at Rolling Stone, and you can find me on Twitter at Sepinwall.
I'm writing about TV for New York Magazine, and I review movies for RogerEbert.com, Roger's old website.
Wow. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank
The name
you.
of the book again is?
Always a pleasure.
The name of the book is The Sopranos Sessions.
Indeed.
Matt and Alan have put this together in conversation with David Chase, forward by Laura Lippman. Thank you, guys. This is 1 on 2, and The Sopranos 20th anniversary. Never be another one.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the CAUCUS Educational Corporation, celebrating over 30 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by Hackensack Meridian Health, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, the law firm of GIBBONS PC, New Jersey Sharing Network, Fedway Associates, Suez, And by Kessler Foundation. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.